I first became aware of open drama at the end of last year when I discovered your YouTube channel, which features a large directory of presentations delivered by drama teachers from all over the country, covering an array of different presentation topics, from classroom management, introducing drama to your school for the first time, teacher identities, working with students with learning disabilities and drama. And my first question I just wanted to ask was, how did you compile all of that content in such a short period of time? Because I think I first accessed the YouTube channel in around October, November.
Oh,
And I
brilliant.
noticed that the channel hadn't really been going for a long time at all before then. So yeah, how did that all come about with the channel?
Well, Open Drama UK had started in it started round the table at a hotel meeting in Reading between the five original co-founders, and kind of from there it's kind of grown massively. And the lockdown took us to another level, really, because drama teachers are very well, all teachers are busy, but drama teachers, you're a small department, usually one or two of you, maybe three if you're lucky. And you're just so busy, you can't keep on top of everything, you can't monitor all the different groups and all the different, what the theatre, what the industry is providing for you. And it does feel sometimes like you're just sort of absolutely overwhelmed by all the opportunities that you've got. So when we started Open Drama, it was very much about being a conduit, I suppose, or a kind of just a resource for teachers that you didn't have to pay for, that you could feel supported, and you could just engage with it as little or as much as you wanted. And we also felt that the country was very fractured in terms of, what do we have that's just UK based? Because we do have subject associations, but they have a kind of, they do projects with Europe, and they have a more of an international outlook, which we didn't really want to do. We wanted to just focus on what do we need here and now in this country with the national curriculum that we deliver. So that was kind of where we started from. And then we really wanted this idea that people had someone in their local area that was helpful. So I live in Sussex, but I teach in Kent. So but again, Kent is a huge county, so I teach in West Kent. And some of the people that I have connections with, and the theatres that I work with, and the information that I hold is particularly prevalent and helpful for those people in West Kent. But then actually, if you're over in sort of Dover or Margate, I'm not that helpful. So the plan with Kent is to actually break that county up again and look at a kind of more champions within the area to help. Because we want the information that we give people to be really, really relevant and helpful, not just kind of, oh, here's a mail out with a load of stuff, but actually if you teach in North Wales, this isn't helpful, or if you're in Devon, this is applicable to you. So we have a system set up now where we filter the database and we send information to people in particular areas when we get information that's helpful for them. So going back to your original question about YouTube and the kind of the resources that we ended up doing, because we grew, we ended up getting champions who are like, the main volunteer in that area, because we are all volunteers, but it's that main volunteer for that area. And Maya Bull was was a really big advocate of what we do. She'd just taken a break from teaching and was working in various capacities. She's a governor, she does lots of different things. But she had a connection with Manchester Metropolitan University, and she works with Dr. Patterson there, who runs their PGCE course. And she said that there's lots of stuff out there to help people training to teach, but actually specifically training to teach drama, there's a real gap in the market there. There's not a lot of information. So Maya came up with this idea of, let's run something online. But by that point, it was sort of July time, like you said, and people were a bit zoomed out. They'd been doing Zoom forever and a day. And she said, actually, let's get this stuff pre-recorded and create it as like a resource. So we hadn't got anything on our YouTube channel until that point. So that was when we thought, right, we'll launch the YouTube channel. That's somewhere where we can store all this stuff. We had like an official launch day, which was the 23rd of July. So it was just at the end of term. But just really when the kind of the trainees were starting to think about, right, what do I need to prepare myself for September? And also those trainees that had just finished a really kind of fractured year of training that were going to become an NQT. So, although it's early career teaching, but specific to drama. So there's information there that helps your trainees that were just obviously starting in September 2020. And then your NQTs, who, like I said, would have had quite quite clunky and broken training year that would have really benefited from having some of that information. So we went, and as always with Open Drama, we kind of pushed that back out to the people that are on our mailing list, and we asked people to come forward with suggestions of content, and we kind of put that back to them and asked. It's kind of, we try to be the body of information, and we can hold that information and we can share it to people, but we're very much for everybody. So it's not a done-to process. It's not like, oh, we're in charge and this is everything we want people to have. You know, we've had loads of different people come to us over the 18 months that we've been running, and have said things like, I'd like to do this. Do you think this is viable, or can you help with this? And a bit like yourself, I suppose, you know, you've come to us and said, I've got this podcast, is there, you know, so that's what we're about. So we have the YouTube channel, and more things will sort of go up there as we get more and more content through. But like I said ages ago, in the lockdown, we were able to flourish because we had that reach. We could reach everyone. We didn't necessarily need to have those face-to-face meetings. So meetings have still carried on. We've had sort of Zoom meetings. We've made phone calls to certain departments that have asked for help. But again, we fielded that out to the champion that's in their area, so that they can get, you know, if someone in Nottingham is going to say, I need help, then Ed, who's one of our co-founders but is based in Nottingham, he would say, okay, speak to Mighty Creative, because they have those connections, they understand what's happening in those areas. So we've kind of been a virtual support to people, we hope.
No, I think you definitely have, and that's evidenced very, very clearly with the amount of engagement that you're getting, and especially when you have such an abundance of resource there that is so frequently being engaged with. And I think that comes down to the fact that some of the presentations aren't necessarily just drama specific subjects that you're exploring. The presentations that explore how to handle stress, how to have difficult conversations with head teachers or heads of department, the engagement with those titles only further proves, I think, the need for this resource. And yeah, it's really invaluable. So Open Drama launched with a conference in Manchester, and that was during lockdown, right? How did that go?
Yeah, so we had the launch. It was the 23rd of July. So it was a virtual launch, but we had a tweet up during the day, hashtag drama support. So people they could dip in and out. So the videos were made live, so people could go in and watch them. But then throughout the day, we had various different people who contributed and made those videos were available on Twitter there was like a timeline for the day. They just used the hashtag drama support, and then they were able to ask questions as they were engaging with the content. And I mean, they could still probably get hold of those people on Twitter if they wanted to, if they've kind of watched the information now, 5 months on. The hashtag drama support will obviously still exist. It will still be a thread within Twitter. People can go back and look for that. So that was the nature of the day. We wanted, like I said, Maya was kind of really conscious of the fact that we'd been a little bit zoomed out, and she was also mindful that she didn't want anything with the technology to go wrong on the day, or for certain people to not be able to connect and see things. And we also thought, as you've already commented, that some of that information, some of that content was going to be really rich and really meaningful and more helpful than just a day. So that was why we thought we'll build that as almost like a little platform on our YouTube channel. It's its own playlist, which you've probably noticed as you've gone and had a look. And since the 23rd of July, we've actually added more content to it, so people can go back and relook at it, and really start to look at other aspects that are now available for people to go through as well.
What are some of your most frequently received requests in regards to support?
We get a lot of requests for things like, can you support me because I'm a department of one and I just physically don't have enough hours in the day and I want to know about X, Y, and Z. We get some people ask if there's other people near to them that they could connect with, or does anybody else, for example, I can even use my own example. So I'm this year for the first time teaching IB theatre. So I wanted to collaborate with somebody on the unit planners and the work that I would put together for that. So I asked Open Drama. It's a bit weird because I kind of asked myself, and I just put a shout out for that. And I did actually get somebody who lives not far from me. Not that it matters with COVID how far away they live anyway, and they came back to me. So sometimes it's kind of just wanting somebody to work with collaboratively to help. It can be difficult if you've got a plan and you've got to kind of do everything in isolation, on your own. So we get a lot of that. Specifically with COVID, we had a lot of requests for the resource that we put together with the sort of the guidance around how to set your drama studio up when you restart in September. We get a lot of people that ask for resources like that, because there isn't a body that's you can go to that's going to give you that specific kind of health and safety document, which is what most people want. They want the security of knowing that they have something in place that, you know, a body or somebody has endorsed. Now, we haven't endorsed it, and we were really careful around the wording of that resource. We sort of said, you know, this is support for you. It's not been written in such a way that makes it legally enforceable, and if anything goes wrong, you know, whatever. And that is something, Karen, who's one of our co-founders, she's really hot on all that kind of thing. She's really hot on GDPR, all our kind of the legalities of what we do and what we can and can't do and how we phrase certain things. But a lot of drama teachers have asked for help with, how do I set my drama studio up to do as much as I can to mitigate risk? Very recently, we've had people saying about wanting to put on a production of some form, whether that's a year group that's bubbled type production, or a specific, like a club where, you know, however people are choosing to do it, they want to put a production on, because, you know, essentially that is what, you know, what we're about. That's what we do. It's the, you know, the theatre form. So I've just been in conversation actually with Royal Central School of Speech and Drama, because they recently sent us some really helpful resources to share with staff around creating self-tapes for auditions and kind of preparing for drama school in a COVID world. So I said to them, presumably you'll obviously be doing your end of term performances and your productions and everything that you will need to do for your students that will be graduating. And I've asked them if they will put together or share with us some kind of resource around the risk assessments of putting on productions, and how are you rehearsing and how are you staging that, you think, you know, in terms of the blocking of trying to keep the distance or particular measures that they're putting in place. Because I think it'd be really helpful for drama teachers to know, well, this is what the drama schools are doing for this kind of, you know, high-end, next level quality type of production. Therefore, these are the sorts of these are the sorts of risks I'm going to measure for and assess for, and this is what I'm going to put into play. I think that really helped people just feel a little bit of reassured that what they choose to do has actually run somewhere else. It's not just them sitting down with a blank risk assessment going, I think I'll do this. Because there's lots of things that you can put in place using your common sense that you think will work, and they probably will work, but it's just that reassurance that others are doing it on a, you know, like I said, in a professional drama school setting, and if it's going to work for them, then presumably that should be able to transfer for school as well.
How are schools reacting to your involvement with supporting their staff? Are drama teachers feeding back that they're taking your organisation to head teachers or senior management teams and are basically presenting you as an organisation that is echoing some of their maybe concerns or points in regards to developing or improving their department? What's some of that feedback like? Has it all been positive?
Yeah, we've had, well, I can give you the literal stats. So because of the way we structured our websites, we've got the resource section of the website. So when people go into it, nothing's paywall. You don't have to pay for anything. But the resource around COVID, because we wanted to work strategically. We didn't just want to be like, oh, here's a resource that's like a file in a Facebook group or something. We wanted to have that professional aspect of what we do. So to ensure that we were doing things strategically and we could measure success, we put it down as a section on the resources where if you wanted to access it, once it downloads, you have to put your email address in. So obviously it will come to you, but then it also gives us some indication of how popular this has been, how popular it's been in certain areas of the country. So on last check, it had been downloaded 7,000 times. which is obviously huge. And also not just by teachers in schools, but also by theatre and education departments, various aspects of industry that may well have been thinking about their youth theatre provision, or maybe they were interested in how schools were going to try and approach this. So what we've heard from most schools is there's the guidance document, and then there's also like a poster, an infographic, if you like, that they can have that they can put up in their drama studio. I personally put it up in my drama studio, and it was interesting when we started in September. Students would go up to it and look at it and say, oh, so we can't have any more than 4 in a group. I said, yeah, that's right, and you've got to use this space, and you can't use the props cupboard, you've got to bring your own props in, yada yada yada. So there was a visual reminder there as an infographic for the young people that are obviously working in the space. But I also shared that infographic with parents. I shared it with senior leadership, and I shared it with our governors, so they were aware of some of the steps and processes that I was putting in place for our department. Some schools have got like a role, like what's the word? They've done their COVID risk assessment. But then what I did was I actually put in place a practical subjects risk assessment. So what we were doing for example, in PE, they've got chlorinated bins. So water with just chlorine tablets in, and then when they finished throwing the javelin, because we're obviously trying to do individual sporty type things rather than playing rugby where they can't grab each other and whatever, they were chucking the javelins in the chlorinated bin. So we had risk assessments for each of our subjects that are practical, that would need to be slightly different to the generic kind of the processes of a one-way system and mask wearing and whatever was happening in the rest of the school. And it was really nice that at the bottom of the risk assessments we had the particular subject associations or the particular industry specialisms that had the links to where we were getting the information from. So obviously on my drama one, I put that I'd used Open Drama as a resource to support what I put together, and I'm sure there's lots of schools that have done similar things like that. But we've, like I said, there's been 7,000 people that have downloaded it from across various aspects of the industry, and we haven't had anything like particularly anecdotal, like it's been horrific, I've not been able to do anything, or I've heard stories where people are like, I am teaching in a classroom and I can't do half these things, but we've got really nice resources and support from various organisations that have got in touch and said, for those people who are having to do desk-based drama lessons, please can you share these resources with people. So again, although we can't support what they can do practically because they're limited by doing it practically, our monthly mail outs have had links to things that they can go and access to support them.
So other than word of mouth or social networks, mail outs, how else do you go about networking and expand your cohort of teachers or champions?
So each champion in their areas they kind of, I suppose if you think of it like a business, we're head office and then they're all kind of franchise, if you like. They can kind of do their own thing. So each county champion has a slightly different way of doing things. So for example, Helen Openshaw, who runs our Cumbria network, she had, given the nature of the county as well and the fact it's quite sparse, and she's been teaching there for a long time, she knows the teachers in most of those schools, so she reached out to them and said, I am now running this area's Open Drama network, please let me know if you're interested. And then they're given a link basically to our mailing list, so they can then go on our mailing list. When you sign up, you go through and you select where you live, what county you're in. So then, as I was saying, when we then need to get stuff out specifically to certain regions, it filters, and then that those people get the right information. So if Helen says, I now want to mail out to Cumbria and tell them, say Merry Christmas to them all and give them some resources for something specific from, I don't know, the Lake District, whatever that might be. I was trying to think of the name of the theatre in the Lake District. It's going to really annoy me. Can you edit that out? I can't remember the name of the theatre. I'm like, what's the name of that theatre? But if she's got something really specific that she wants to send out to that county, I then filter that out and send that information through. We've built really nice, because we're drama teachers and theatre educators, we've built really nice connections with local theatres. Some of our networks are actually run by people that work in the theatre. They're not all run by teachers. So, for example, in West Yorkshire, in Leeds, we have Gemma Woofenden, who is the youth theatre director there. So we've got an in there to Leeds Playhouse, and obviously their education department, they have connections to all of the various schools that they work with. So, I mean, obviously we don't share our mailing list and they don't share theirs, because that'd be a GDPR nightmare. But when we say to Leeds Playhouse, we've got X, Y, and Z, can you inform? They will then mail that out. So it's kind of it was reciprocal, isn't it? It's a give and take relationship. So I can give an example myself. So like I said, I'm in West Kent. I'm based in Tunbridge Wells. So I work really closely professionally in my day job, and also now through Open Drama, with the education department at Trinity Theatre in Tunbridge Wells. I needed to get some information out about things, and I've asked them to do stuff, and they've sent it out. And likewise, if they've got something they particularly want to advertise, or they're doing something, that they can send that to me. At work, I will share it with my students and the young people that I work with, but then I'll also pop that maybe on a Kent mail out, so that the local information is there for people.
Okay. And what sort of information or resources do those mail outs contain?
So it's not always resource heavy. Sometimes it's just information. So we do the county specific, or the very kind of the county or the regional specific information is more ad hoc. So it's kind of, when I get something that needs to be passed on, I will do that. The national, so we do send one out to the whole country, or anyone on our mailing list, obviously. Make it sound like it's getting your voting slip and it's gone out to the whole country. So we have got about 4,000 people on our mailing list, so it is a good proportion of people. When we send that out, that goes to everybody at the beginning of the month, and contained within that are links to various things that we think would be helpful for them. So, for example, this month we had information about Artsmark and what Curious Minds are doing. So Curious Minds is the Northwest, I forgot the word. I'm gonna have to get the word right, because that's really embarrassing if I forget what that is. So Curious Minds, which is the Northwest Bridge organisation. So they work closely with Maya and obviously our champions that are based in the Northwest. So that information came through, and initially I was just going to send that to the Northwest, but then I thought, actually, the information in there about Artsmark and what they've been doing with socially distanced art forms is actually helpful for the whole country. So that went out. We had a really lovely resource that was written actually by one of our champions, our Cheshire champion, Rob. He put together a really nice poem called Hope, Comfort and Joy, and it was all about delivery. So Christmas, obviously, normally drama departments would be putting something together ready for the festive celebrations. So he wrote a poem to do with how hope, comfort and joy is essentially the message of Christmas, and obviously about Jesus and the whole story of Christmas. But he wrote it all around Zoom and how we're going to have Christmas on Zoom this year, and looking at each other while we're eating our roast dinners. It's going to be a little bit different to normal. So that was a really nice, because drama teachers are so busy anyway, even without COVID, in a small department, still having to do as much as other departments that are much bigger. It was really nice to be able to say to people, if you're being asked to do something for a streamed Christmas assembly, here's a resource. We get job adverts. Some people send us information that they think would be really helpful for freelance, like theatre practitioners. We get resources because of COVID as well. Some of the resources that are sent to us, although they would normally be, for example, Leeds Playhouse sent us stuff out that would normally you wouldn't send to the whole country, because they can't access it, because unless you're living, within about 10 or 15 miles of Leeds, why would you be going? But now, thanks to the powers of Zoom and various other means, live streaming on YouTube, we can actually send that out to everybody and everyone can benefit from it. So it fluctuates month to month on what we have, but I try not to have too much in a mail out that people think, oh my goodness, I can't do all of that. What is all that? So if it's not time specific, I'll try and roll it over to the next month, just to kind of pace it out, spread it out a little bit in terms of information. Because we do get, I say we as in the royal we, that the country, we get so many emails. And almost, I know when lockdown started, I think some of us just felt so overwhelmed by, the inbox was going off constantly. There was this happening on Zoom. You could engage with this webinar. You could do this. And it was almost like, I just don't want to do any of it. I just don't even know where I'm going.
I know. So I suppose the big question is then, what is on the horizon for Open Drama in 2021, hopefully, once lockdown is over?
So, yeah, good question. So have you just read about our change?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah. So we are moving to a steering group committee and a steering group structure, because, as I said earlier, we didn't really want to be too hierarchical. We didn't want to look like we're head office and this is what we think and this is, where it goes. We are the guardians, if you like. We look after it. We look after what the vision is, and we want that ethos to be retained and looked after. There were originally 5 co-founders, and nothing negative at all. Catherine Nash, who was one of those 5, she's just decided that she wants to focus on being a drama teacher, she's head of drama actually, on her family and kind of things that she wants to invest in her personal life. And I think for some people that a lockdown has done that for people. They've kind of realised they don't need to work a 17-hour day, and there are other aspects to life. So she reflected on that and said, I have absolutely loved what we've built, but I want to step away and I want to do something else. And although Open Drama isn't, massively, it doesn't make you commit excessively. I think when you found something, and it's like having children, you want to see that flourish, and you invest, but you do get to a point where you think, hang on a minute, is this too much? And our champion structure is brilliant. So, we have those people that we can delegate to and we can field out to. We all meet the first Sunday of the month, the champions, and as we're currently called, the co-founders, where we kind of just have a touch base. We have an hour, we go around, we hear what's happening in the rest of the UK. We try and then, as the co-founders, we try and pull that information in and make that strategic and then push that back out again. But we are mindful that we don't want people to think it's just us 4 and, that's what we decide and that's the end of it. So we've decided we're advertising 2 new roles. The deadline for applying is Friday the 8th of January. Take that out if this will go out after that, that's fine. But the information is on our website. It's our latest blog post, actually, where we're just talking about the reason, the why, I guess. It's kind of, why are we doing this? And we're doing this because we want people to feel like they've got more ownership, and they can embrace what we do and they can work with us. We get a lot of people who write to us and say they want to be a champion, and we have a pack that we send back to people and say, this is what it means to be a champion. If you're telling me you're really time poor and you've only got 5 minutes, you can't really be a champion, because you're going to have umpteen people in your area that are going to want to work with you. And you're not going to be able to give that. So that's always tricky. So once people decide they want to be a champion, they kind of get onboarded. They're given their Open Drama email. They're told all about the processes and the procedures. And at the moment, it's one of the 4 of us that kind of pick that up and do that. So we want to make one of the roles the sort of champion management. And that doesn't need to be one of the current champions. And that's the other thing. Because people get in touch and say they want to be a champion, once they've read the pack and they go, oh yeah, I really want to do it. If they're already based in an area that's got a champion, that there isn't, that they can't really do anything. We do have some co-champions. We do have areas like, for example, I said about Gemma earlier, who's based in West Yorkshire and works from Leeds Playhouse. She was a drama teacher in a former life, but her world now is very much youth theatre and kind of all of that provision within drama. So she has a co-champion. She's got 2 co-champions actually at a school not far from her. So they give her the school aspect. And we have, again, tried to be really strategic about that, because we're not just about drama teachers, we are about theatre educators. So where possible, we've tried to sort of buddy people together, so that if we get an inquiry, or if people want help, or if there's a particular event that's running, or we want representation for something in an area that's theatre focused or drama education focused, we can pull on that. So we're thinking more strategically about where we have people positioned. But it is always really sad when people, they want to get involved and you think, oh, well, you can't really. So it does now mean that anyone, even no matter what your background is, no matter where you're based, anyone can get involved with these 2 roles that we put into the mix. So there'll be a steering committee. I suppose technically we will still have been the co-founders, we've still founded it, but we're trying to step away from that to make people appreciate that anyone can get involved, and it's our network that we all contribute to. We did a lot of webinars and a lot of sort of web chats while we were in lockdown. And we went to a Patreon scheme where people were able to start supporting us, because we've done everything literally. Well, the 5 of us chipped in to pay for the website. The 5 of us chipped in to pay for MailChimp. So we sort of, like I say, it is like having kids. The 5 of us paid for our child to start to flourish. And then kindly, people saw the value in what we did, and they joined our Patreon scheme, and we started to get some funding, which just it's nice. It's like every month we get this donation from people, and that allows us to cover the costs that we have of our, like we pay for our Zoom, we pay, so all of those overheads, up until lockdown, where we had people, up until lockdown, we paid for that ourselves. And then I think because we had the lockdown and people weren't as, they were able to sit at their computers, and they were able to sort of research and do a little bit more and have a little bit more capacity, brain space, head space, whatever the phrase is. They realized what we were about, and they kind of engaged with us, and they got in touch with us, and our mailing list grew. We ran these webinars that we felt were, poignant and helpful for people, and it wasn't area specific, so everyone could get involved. So in 2021, we're not going to be doing webinars and Zooms, because like we said, I think people are a bit zoomed out. So we're moving to podcasts. So which is quite fitting that we're having this meeting. So we currently have a SoundCloud page, or login, or whatever the word is. What's the word? Account? Yeah. We've currently got a SoundCloud account where we've got certain audio content on there. So we thought it would be a good idea to just sort of step away from inundating people with Zoom webinars and meetings and things, and also just to kind of make it a little bit more accessible for people, because although people like the liveness of being, it's at 6 o'clock, I'll go and join, or whatever it was, we also realized that some people just couldn't get to these things. They couldn't be there, so they'd buy a ticket, and then they'd get sent a recording, which they would then obviously watch back in their own time. But we thought, why don't we go for a podcast, because we're so time poor, people can listen to that while they're driving to work, or when they're doing the ironing, or whatever it is they're doing. So we just thought it was a little bit more inclusive. So we're going to the steering group. We're moving to podcasts, and we hope that as things fingers crossed, start to lift, we can go back to the sort of networking that we had originally, which was these kind of meetings, meetups, and CPD that we were running in certain regions. Just before we locked down in Kent, in my county as if I own it, we had Annie Sutton, who's a really wonderful practitioner who's actually based in Kent. She came and ran a workshop, a Birkhoff workshop, and I had, I think she said she could have 15 in the workshop, and I think I had 15 teachers and theatre educators, and they came and they got involved in that really practical workshop, which is, literally cost price. She charged me for her train ticket to get there, and I just divided that between the teachers that attended. And that's the other thing that's really lovely about Open Drama, because we are all volunteers, and because we're not out to make money, we're just there as a resource and a support for people. People are, they take that in their viewpoint and in how they want to embrace us. We do a book giveaway. Shall I stop talking? You're going to ask me other questions? No, okay. No, we do every month. Well, what we did until September, so from January till September, we did a book giveaway every month. So the first 5 months was each of the co-founders bought a book and put it up for for the giveaway for that month. And then Annie is a really good example. So she got in touch and she said, I want to give away my book. I was like, thank you. So she gave away a book. Gemma, who I've mentioned previously, she got in touch and said, I want to give away some plays for young people that I've been reading. So it's people's willingness, and I think as well people's faith and people's trust in what we do and what we've built, and they see that there was that gap and there was that opportunity. And that's really lovely, because you can often have like this vision and you think, yeah, I think we really need this. And when you're so kind of embedded in what you're doing, it can be really difficult to kind of put your head up above the parapet and just remind yourself, hang on, is this relevant? Is this helpful for people? And it's when you have those conversations with other colleagues and professionals, this is what people need. It just reminds you, it's like, oh, okay, this is good that I spend all of my Sunday putting together a MailChimp for the country. Because it's nice. It does reaffirm why you've chosen to do it and the purpose of it, and it was necessary.
Of course. And how can any aspiring champions or potential future employees of Open Drama get in contact with you if they wish to apply?
They can get in touch. They can email us. So that's opendramauk@gmail.com. It's on our website, on the blog post area. It's our latest blog post, and we won't put another blog post out until obviously the closing date happens. So our website is www.opendramauk.org. So you can go on there and you'll see resources, you'll see our join us, you can sign up to the mailing list, and you'll see the links to the blogs and the resources, and you'll be able to read all about that. We're on all social media platforms, and we haven't got any weird name for anything. We are Open Drama UK, and it's the same on all of them. So that's Karen's strategic brain once again. Don't have different names on different things, so people have to look for different stuff. So yeah, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're on LinkedIn. So people can go and look at all of those platforms and engage with us through there. And obviously, if they're on our mailing list already, they'll get the information through when it goes out on the mail out. And you can actually reply to as you'll probably know, when you get your MailChimp, you can actually just hit reply and it'll come back to us as well. When we have champions required in certain areas, we do occasionally, we'll say, oh, we're looking for champions in these areas, and it goes in the mail out, which people can obviously, we put in populate in an email. So when they click on it, if you're interested, please click here. It will instantly take them in to start to write the email. And I usually, as well, just to save people time, because I know everyone's so time poor, I put the title in and I put the message in the email. You know, I've seen your mail out and I'd like to apply for, or I'm interested in, and then just put the rest of the details in. So we should be fairly easy to find and fairly easy to engage with.
What about any teachers who may want to submit a YouTube presentation? Is that via those same contact channels as well?
Yeah, so Maya Bull has been looking after that and kind of owning that, and unfortunately, very sad for everybody, she'll be stepping down at the end of this month, because she's actually got a role now full-time at Manchester Metropolitan University, which is wonderful because she's finished her master's, she's had a time out, she's been busier than ever, but she's now taking on a new job, where she's stepping away from drama and she's looking at education more broadly. So she felt it was the right time to kind of step back from her role with us, because obviously it is so drama specific. So there is a resource and an information sheet about the video and how do you kind of produce content and where do you put it to. But initially, if people do have an area that they're interested in start a sentence again. Initially, if people do have content that they're particularly interested in presenting about, if they send us an email, we can send them the guide sheet over, which explains how, you know, what do I need to put together, what kind of format does it need to be, how long does it need to be. So they've got the guidance to help them, and then they can run with that, and then we ask for it to come back to us via WeTransfer. But again, all that information is in the guide sheet. So if there is anybody out there that would like to contribute, obviously go and have a look at our YouTube page and have a look at that playlist and check that the things you want to talk about aren't already covered, and then ping us an email.
And also as well, if anybody is failing to get in contact with Holly or can't find the Open Drama information, by all means get in contact with myself at the Applied Theatre Podcast, and I can certainly put you in touch with Open Drama. That's not a problem. I just want to say, Holly, what you and your co-founders have created is such a valuable resource, and so many of my followers, my colleagues, teachers that I come into contact with on a regular basis are really, really going to benefit from this work. And just itself as a resource, it's so accessible and incredibly invaluable. And even on behalf of myself as a practitioner within creative education as part of a theatre and a learning department, It is really appreciated. It really, really is. So thank you very much. And most importantly, thank you for your time today, and your interview. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really nice to hear that. And we are just so passionate to kind of be a ray of positivity for people. I think it can be very difficult when people feel bogged down and they get their head down to feel like they kind of, oh, I can't do it anymore, or I can't be bothered, it's too difficult. There's barriers, like you say, senior management preventing me from doing things. I can't network with anybody, I can't get out to anybody, no one else studies my exam board. It can feel, there are times when you can feel so negative. And we really didn't want that, the 5 of us, when we started this, was because it was out of frustration. It was a kind of, but why isn't there anyone joining the dots with this stuff? Why is there, some teachers out there that don't know that there's bridge organisations, that there's support for this, that there's this network that does this? And it was just, my background, I was a stage manager. So, I used to sit and write my rehearsal notes and write my rehearsal reports and get them out to different departments. And I was always that link in the middle that would communicate information and share. And then becoming a drama teacher, becoming a head of department, becoming, extended member of SLT, my role at work, I'm all about the communication strategy and the policy around how we communicate and kind of that domino effect of stuff. So when someone's poorly, someone's not in, they need a room change, this has got to happen. It's kind of the practicalities of it all the time is kind of how my brain works. So I do find it incredibly frustrating that drama teachers can at times be the heart and soul of a school. They'll be absolutely slogging their guts out, and the young people are looking to them and loving their lessons and loving what they offer in addition to just teaching and learning, getting out on those trips and doing all those things. But yet very, very rarely do you have senior management that's got a drama teacher on it, because the chances of ratios, there's so few of us. You sit there and you've got your maths, your science, your English, your PE, your history, and they're kind of churning out the processes and the policies for things, and it just doesn't always fit with what you're trying to achieve as a drama teacher, and that can be so frustrating. So we wanted to be that ray of positivity for teachers, but also we wanted to make that connection with theatre education world, because the theatres are just, they are the heart of what we do. That's why we teach drama, and you take students to the theatre to watch that art form and to understand it. But it is so frustrating when you meet theatre colleagues who will say things like, yeah, we've got free tickets for tomorrow. It's like, no, we can't come tomorrow. We've got all these things that we have to put in place, and it's got to go on the calendar, and we've got to do a risk assessment, we've got to put the minibus, and they get equally as frustrated because, I feel like I sit in the middle because I was someone who was in theatre before I was a teacher, and I get that, you might have a press night and X, Y, and Z, you've got these tickets blocked out for these people, but now they're not coming, so now they're free, so let's give them to a school. And both parties, the theatre and the school, they've always got the young people at the core of what they're trying to do, and they're being positive. But sometimes it kind of, they're banging heads because there's the one set of processes in one environment and one set of processes in another environment. They just don't work. So we were really, I personally was really about, we've got to join the dots here. We've got to make this work. And Ed, who's one of our co-founders I was talking about earlier, he runs a non-such theatre company in Nottingham, which you might have heard of, Thomas, not that far from you. And he was all about that. He's about, we do these things, but we can never really tap into teachers, or we've now got this teacher network, but we always run it at the wrong time. When is the right time? So it's really interesting. Obviously, while we've had lockdown, the theatre industry has taken a massive knock. And drama teachers, yes, we're able to carry on doing our job and able to take a salary at the end of the day. We haven't been furloughed, and all those kind of positives. But really, it is heartbreaking that you think, I'm teaching them a subject and I'm preparing them for onward passion of the subject, we hope to Key Stage 5, or to go off and study it at university, or and it's not all about going off and studying the subject and going to work in industry. There are students that love the subject but will go off and do a completely different career, and that's fine, and that's doesn't make any difference. But it can be really heartbreaking when you've got young people that really want to work in the art form, or want to work in the theatre industry, or in the performing arts in any capacity, And at the moment, they're just seeing it kind of crumbling around them and thinking, well, where am I going to go with this? This is what I really want to do, but can't see light at the end of the tunnel. So we've tried to kind of do what we can as Open Drama by the last 2 terms. So we moved from our monthly book giveaways to a termly giveaway. And in term 1, so September to October, our giveaway was to give back and to support the theatre a little bit. It's only something little, but it's the gesture and it's the thought that's behind it, and then it's the kind of the rhetoric that goes with that. Hopefully gives some sensitivities and awareness to those that engage with us, that we've given to the Theatre Support Fund. So those people are on our mailing list. Someone was randomly selected and they've got a goodie bag from the Theatre Support Fund. We bought it, not out of the funds that people give us. We bought it, the co-founders bought it out of our pocket. But that then gives back. It gives to a teacher. It helps them feel valued, and they think, oh great, it's always nice to win something. And it's just given that little bit more in the pot there for the Theatre Support Fund. And we're doing the same thing again, term 3 and 4. We're giving to Alofts, which is the Alliance of Theatrical Seamsters. So they have obviously, while they've been furloughed and and not been working, they've been making different things out of materials, which I saw on social media and thought, oh, that's brilliant. Let's support them for our next giveaway. And this term, so term 2, the giveaway has actually come from Bloomsbury Publishing. So they've wanted to give back through their work that they've been doing for plays for young people. They've given us a bundle of plays, and that will be selected and given away at the end of term 2.
Amazing. How kind of them. That's fantastic.
We try with the little bit of money that we've got. And we'll try for as long as possible to do everything that we do without a paywall there, so that people can, embrace us and keep in touch with us and have that dialogue with us as well. I think I've been fairly consistent with it's not a done-to process. We want people to communicate with us, and although we hold that mailing list and we have lots of different contacts and lots of ways of being able to reach people to help them. It's we're not in our ivory tower. We're not looking down on people, and that can often be difficult with drama teachers, because we've all got a bit of a weird, bizarre ego, some of us, and we're so used to being in departments, like I've said before, on our own. We kind of forget we kind of sometimes we just forget. We're so blinkered to what we're doing and what's important about our little world. That reaching out and being with other people and helping other people is really important to essentially enable us all to flourish. It's really great that you've asked, to have this interview, and it's lovely because it's just nice to have a conversation with somebody else who's gets what we're doing, is part of this drama and teaching and education world, and has that overlap into the theatre as well. It's been really lovely to talk to you.